For decades, the Scream franchise has remained one of the most recognizable horror series ever created. From the very first film, the series changed the way audiences looked at slasher movies. Instead of simply copying the horror formula, the movie actually talked about those rules inside the story itself. That clever idea, combined with the terrifying presence of Ghostface, turned Scream into something completely unique. But now, after the success and controversy surrounding the most recent films, fans around the world are asking the same question: what is really happening with Scream 8? To understand the future of the franchise, we first need to go back to where it all started. When the original Scream was released in 1996, it instantly became a cultural phenomenon. Directed by legendary horror filmmaker Wes Craven, the film introduced audiences to a story that was both terrifying and surprisingly self-aware. Characters in the movie openly discussed horror movie cliches while simultaneously trying to survive a brutal killer. This creative approach helped the movie stand out from every other slasher film at the time. At the center of the story was Ghostface, a mysterious masked killer who could be absolutely anyone. Unlike other horror villains such as Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, Ghostface was never just one person. Instead, every film revealed a new killer hiding behind the mask. This simple idea allowed the franchise to keep surprising audiences again and again. Every time a new movie was released, fans tried to guess who the killer might be, turning the Scream series into both a horror film and a mystery at the same time. Over the years, the franchise continued with multiple sequels that expanded the story while still maintaining the same core concept. Characters like Sidney Prescott, Gale Weathers, and Dewey Riley became some of the most beloved figures in horror cinema. Their survival through multiple Ghostface attacks created a long-running narrative that fans followed for decades. But as time passed, the franchise faced the challenge that every long-running series eventually encounters: how do you keep the story fresh without repeating the same ideas? That question became especially important after the passing of Wes Craven, the creative mind who had guided the series from the beginning. Many fans wondered if the franchise could continue without the director who helped define its identity. Surprisingly, the answer turned out to be yes. A new generation of filmmakers stepped in and managed to revive the series for modern audiences while still respecting the legacy of the original films. This revival reached its peak with Scream 6, a movie that changed the formula in several important ways. Instead of returning once again to the small town of Woodsboro, the story moved to the busy streets of New York City. This new setting allowed the filmmakers to explore a completely different atmosphere, turning Ghostface into a threat that could appear anywhere in a crowded urban environment. The change worked surprisingly well, and the movie became one of the most successful entries in the franchise. However, the success of Scream 6 also created new expectations. Fans quickly began wondering what would happen next, and whether Scream 8 would continue the same storyline or introduce another major twist. At the same time, the production faced several behind-the-scenes challenges that made the future of the franchise less predictable than usual. Creative decisions, cast changes, and studio plans all played a role in slowing down the development of the next installment. Despite these challenges, it is very unlikely that the Scream franchise will simply disappear. Horror series with strong fan bases tend to survive even major obstacles, and Scream has one major advantage that many other franchises do not have: the Ghostface identity can always return with a new story. Because the killer is never tied to just one character, the franchise has almost unlimited possibilities for future movies. This is why many fans believe Scream 8 could take the series in an entirely new direction. Instead of focusing only on continuing previous storylines, the next film might explore a completely fresh mystery with new characters and new suspects. That approach would allow the franchise to evolve while still maintaining the suspenseful "who is the killer" element that made the series famous in the first place. Another possibility is that the next movie could bring back elements of the original films. The early Scream movies were known not just for their violence, but also for their clever commentary on horror culture. Characters often discussed the rules of horror movies, making the audience feel like they were part of the mystery. If the creators decide to return to that style, Scream 8 could become one of the most nostalgic entries in the entire franchise. Of course, the biggest mystery will always remain the same: who will become the next Ghostface? Every Scream movie builds its suspense around this question, carefully planting clues and misdirecting the audience until the final reveal. Fans love trying to solve the mystery before the characters do, which is why discussions and theories about the killer often become just as popular as the movie itself. In many ways, this interactive experience is the true secret behind the franchise's long-lasting popularity. Scream is not just a horror movie. It is also a puzzle that invites the audience to participate. Every suspicious character, every strange conversation, and every hidden clue could be part of the bigger mystery. This storytelling style ensures that even after multiple sequels, the series still feels exciting and unpredictable. As for the future of Scream 8, the truth is that the situation is still evolving. The next movie may take time to develop, but that does not necessarily mean the franchise is in danger. In fact, many horror series have returned stronger after taking time to rethink their direction. If the creators choose the right story and introduce a new generation of characters, the next Scream movie could once again surprise audiences. What makes this possibility even more exciting is the fact that Ghostface remains one of the most flexible villains in horror history. The mask itself has become a symbol of fear, allowing the identity of the killer to change while the legend continues. As long as someone is willing to wear that mask and pick up the knife, the story can always begin again. And that is exactly why the future of the Scream franchise remains so fascinating. The next chapter might introduce a completely new mystery, a new group of survivors, and a new killer hiding behind the Ghostface mask. But no matter what direction the story takes, one thing is certain: when Ghostface finally returns, the game will begin again, and the rules of horror may change one more time.